Well, good evening and thank you for joining me. My name is Duncan and I have the privilege of sharing a brief reflection with you and a night blessing that I have written. As we still our hearts tonight, we are making a journey through the Beatitudes, the promises of blessing and presence that God gave to his followers through Jesus Christ in the Sermon on the Mount. They're recorded in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 to 11. And as we continue our journey through them, I pray that God will speak profoundly and powerfully to you. I want to read the first of these Beatitudes from Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Eugene Peterson's version of it puts it this way: you are blessed when you are at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. What does it mean to be poor in spirit? In the corresponding passage in the Sermon on the Plain recorded in Luke chapter 6, Jesus seems to be talking about physical poverty. And there's no doubt that the Beatitudes can be taken as both physical and as spiritual or existential. I don't think you have to choose one or the other. I think they mean both. And for a moment, I want to reflect with you here on what it means to be poor in spirit. And over the course of the next few nights, you will hear me saying that I think that the Beatitudes can be seen as a journey of spirituality that help us to work our way through our spiritual relationship with God, our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. There's a kind of spiral contained in these 8 statements from Jesus. And if we allow them to sink into our hearts, they spiral us up toward him rather than away from him. And the first step in that spiral, the first step in our spiritual lives, is to be poor in spirit. It's to recognize that in and of ourselves, we don't have anything that we can give that would make us worthy of God's love or God's grace. I guess one way of understanding the idea of being poor in spirit is understanding that we are broken people, that we come with our insecurities, our questions, our fears and our uncertainties, and that God knows that we don't have to put on a pretense. We don't have to impress him. We don't have to pass some type of exam to come into God's presence. Remember that Jesus spoke these words originally to a group of people who were probably excluded from Jewish hierarchy and excluded from Jewish community, or certainly looked at as less because they were on the edges of Jewish religious life, or they were considered not to be good enough. Many of them will have been striving to prove their worth and their value to God. So the words of Jesus to them, blessed are the poor in spirit, is a revolutionary cry to those who feel locked out of systems, those who feel forgotten, those who feel as if they have nothing to contribute, that they've nothing to give. And he tells them that when they feel poor in spirit, here's the promise: theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The people that heard these words originally would have been scandalized by this idea that somehow in them God could bring a sense of his presence and his purpose. That God could come to them in their brokenness, in their uncertainty, in their incompleteness, in their fracturedness, and give them hope and grace. But I guess the first step in any Christian faith, the first step perhaps in any true spirituality, is recognizing our own brokenness. It's recognizing that we are not the people that have all the answers, that we don't find peace and hope by searching deep within ourselves. But instead we need someone to help us with our brokenness, to help us with our questions, to help us with our fracturedness, with our kaleidoscope lives and kaleidoscope worlds. I think that's probably why Eugene Peterson paraphrases this by saying, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and his rule. Maybe you feel at the end of your rope because of having to homeschool children. Maybe you feel at the end of your rope because of isolation. Maybe you feel at the end of your rope because you've tried so hard to please God for so long and other people, and now you've no energy left. Maybe you feel at the end of your rope because the pressure of working from home is breaking you. Or maybe you feel at the end of the rope because you have been mourning or sad, or you've been trying to do a life that you know you can't do on your own. Maybe you're a solo parent. Maybe you've never had children. Maybe you're divorced. Maybe you're a widower or a widow. Whatever brings us to the place of recognizing our frailty and our insecurity. When we know that we need help, when we recognize that we are poor in spirit, God is available to give us the promise of the hope of heaven and to give us the strength and the stillness in our hearts. I pray that he does that for you tonight. Here's my night blessing that I'd like to share with you. May you see further with your soul than you do through your natural eyes. May the promises of God be the lens through which you view the world. May the rags of your failures and fears be lifted from your shoulders. And may hope and possibility be your new mantle. Amen.
Across the changes through the years, eternal God, your love comes down to lead us on. So as we walk with you, our every step is holy ground. You are the God of endless love, the Lord of every time and place. You are the hope beyond our humanness. This is the promise of your grace. And we will seek to know you more in every word of every prayer. And you will keep your timeless faithfulness through every breath. You will be there. You are the God of endless love, the Lord of every time and place. You are the hope beyond our humanness. This is the promise of your grace. If doubts and fears come closing in, we lean on you when strength we fail. And Father God, you pour your spirit down. The clouds will clear, the truth prevail. You are the God of endless love, the Lord of every time and place. You are the hope beyond our humanness. This is the promise of your grace. This is the hope for all the world. The nails that held God in our place. This is the love that brings forgiveness. This is the promise. This is the promise. This is the promise of His grace.